Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. My name is Khairul Hazib Bazman with the card metric number B0717107119. Today I would like to do the lab test of subject vehicle transmission system. For this lab test, I use the motorcycle transmission gear. This is the motorcycle that I use. The first question of this lab test is to identify low and high ratio according to the visual. For this motorcycle, it has 4 gear, which is the first, second, third and fourth gear. The highest gear ratio is the first gear and the lowest gear ratio is the fourth gear. For the second question, the equipment and tool that I use for this lab test is, first is screwdriver. Second is the adjustable spanner, and the spanner number 10. And the last is the liquid paper for the marking purpose. For the third question, there is the measure the gear ratio and RPM. To measure the gear ratio, we have to know the number of T of the driver gear and the number of T of the driver gear. For this motorcycle, we have to know the number of T of the driver and driver gear. Firstly, we have to open the cover of the driver gear and calculate the number of T and the driver gear. Next, I will show you how to calculate the number of T of the driver and the driver gear from the first step. Firstly, we have to open the cover of the driver gear. We have to open all the screw that is attached to the cover. When the cover is removed from the motorcycle, we can see the driver gear in the cover, and at the back, at the rear of the motorcycle is the driver gear. The next step is we have to calculate the number of T for the driver gear and the number of T of the driver gear. To make the calculation process easy, I use the liquid paper to mark at any T of the gear to show that the mark is the beginning of the calculation. I will mark at any T. So the beginning of the calculation, we have to start here. For the driver gear, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, 13, 14. We have 14T for the driver gear. And the same method is used to calculate the T of the driver gear. For the driver gear, firstly we mark at any T, and then we can start to calculate from the marking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. For the driven gear, it has the 36 T. And after we got the value of the number of the T of the driver gear and the number of T of the driven gear, we can measure the gear ratio using the formula number of T of driven gear divided by number of T of the driver gear. So for this motorcycle, the number of T of the driven gear is 36 T, and the number of T of the driver gear is 14 T. So we can get the value of the gear ratio of 2.57. And to measure the RPM, we can use the formula the number of T of the driver gear divided by the number of T of the driven gear equal to the RPM value of the driven gear divided by the RPM value of the driver gear. The number of T of the driver gear for this motorcycle is 14, and the number of T of the driven gear is 36. So if we use the 1000 RPM for the driver gear, we will get the 388.89 RPM for the driver gear. For the last question, I have to fit the appropriate chain sled. To fix this chain, I use the tool of the adjustable spanner and the spanner number 10. So if we found that our motorcycle chain is loose, we can repair it using this method. Firstly, by using the adjustable spanner, loosen this nut, and after losing this nut, by using the spanner number 10 and tighten this nut. Tighten this nut until the chain is not too loose and not too tight. So that is the method to fix the chains.